नमस्कार, आदाब, सत श्री अकाल दोस्तों। स्वागत है आपका एक बार फिर से हमारे YouTube चैनल ब्रास फ्यूजन्स पर, जहां हम आपके लिए एक बार फिर से लेकर आए हैं एक नया लेसन।
Is there a similar provision when it comes to 163? Is there a similar discretion on the part of the governor under 163? Please look at it and tell me.
Yes, ma'am. In 163, clause 2 says that the governor is free, can exercise his discretion in constitutional, where constitution requires him to do so. Although there is no specification as to which are those matters, but then the question of which matter is relevant or not will not be called into question, is what clause 2 says.
Right, so, but I was asking a slightly different question. Under Article 74, after the amendment, once the president can exercise his own discretion and refer it back, okay? And then second time around, he is bound by the reconsidered opinion. My question is, when it comes to 163, where there is an aid and advice provision, is there an equivalent provision to 74 where he can refer it back and then be bound the second time, not the first time? Is there a symmetrical provision in 163?
It's not there.
Not there. Yeah, exactly, Manu. It's not there. Which means that when it comes to a state government, either there is an area over which governor has his discretion, and we've discussed it in detail, right? When we did Shamsher Singh, the Madhya Pradesh case, the 371, 356, prosecution of Chief Minister, A.R. Antale's case, R.S. Naik case, or prosecution under permission for prosecution, under 197 of CRPC. In those areas, he acts on his own. But where once he receives aid and advice, it appears under the structure of 163 that the governor is bound by the aid and advice. There is no possibility to refer it back and say, ek baar fir se dekh lijiye. That little play which is there under Article 74, you will notice is missing in Article 163. That's the lack of symmetry I was talking about. Now, when we come to Union Territory of Delhi and you look at Article 239 AA, you will notice, again, like 163, there is no possibility of referring back. But where the greater asymmetry, according to me, arises is that the proviso acknowledges that even in the area where there is an aid and advice that the LG is obliged to seek from the Chief Minister and Council of Ministers of Delhi, there is a possibility, according to the proviso, for the LG to have a difference of opinion, which means, look at the word here, if there is a difference of opinion between the LG and his ministers on any matter. So the political question we have to ask is, it appears, if you were to give the broadest reading to this proviso, that the aid and advice in the earlier part is nothing other than an advisory opinion. And the LG is free to have his own opinion on that same matter. And if there is a difference of opinion, he can send it up to the president. Now, that is the most important heart of the NCT Delhi of the 5-judge case as well as the later 2-judge bench case. If I was to reduce that aid and advice, which is there in 239 AA subclause 4 as an opinion, then it does not even have the weight of being an aid and advice opinion, which we know under 163, when it is a governor with the state, is virtually a direction, virtually. Right? And in the case of Article 74 also, when the Union Council of Ministers gives aid and advice, it is virtually a direction, except once the president can say, nahi ji, ek baar fir se dekh lein. But second time it comes back after reconsideration, he's bound. So the aid and advice has a direction-like quality when you're looking at Article 74 and very specifically when you're looking at Article 173. 163. But when it comes to NCTD Delhi, then that aid and advise word, which is used in 4, seems to diminish and shrink and becomes opinion of the Chief Minister and his Council of Ministers, and on the other hand, the possibility. Now look at the word proviso. And when you're looking, please also bear in mind another provision. A proviso always occupies a smaller area than the main provision. Okay, that's normally the construction that we give to any statutory enactment. Now, keeping that in mind, look at the words of the first opening line. Provided that in the case of difference of opinion, can this difference of opinion arise with regard to the aid and advice? That's the first question I'm asking. Between the LG and his ministers on any matter. If I were to give it the broadest connotation, it would also include those matters over which the State Council of Ministers, with the Chief Minister at its head, is capable of giving advice to the LG, namely matters in the state list and concurrent list barring 1, 2 and 18, and such matters of 64, 65, 66, which do not impinge on 1, 2 and 18. Okay. This is the point. Okay. And then in which case, if there is a difference of opinion, then what can the LG do? Refer it to the president and then act according to the decision given to the president. And pending such decision from the president, the power to take immediate emergency action has not been given to the Chief Minister, but has been given to the LG. Okay, that's all that the proviso says. Now, with this background, we want to find answers to 2 questions. The difference of opinion, does it also cover the area over which aid and advice has been given by the State Council of Ministers? And what is the meaning of any matter? Does it include that area, or is it a residuary area? Or to put it another way, is it every matter over which there can be a difference of opinion? Okay, so now what does the 5-judge bench say? Abhinav, Abhishek.
Ma'am, every matter is not to be referred to the president, as it should be taken as the matter of national interest of the national capital region. Then only those matters are to be referred to the president, and LG can have difference of opinion, and for that there is a transaction of business rules that must be followed is given, and by process of dialogue and discussion he should try to resolve that difference of opinion with the minister, and even then it is not possible and he feels that it is not in the interest of the national capital territory, then he can refer that matter to the president.
Abhishek, I put a question to you. The very fact that the LG can have his independent opinion, does it not lessen the quality of the aid and advice that the minister or the Chief Minister of Delhi is giving to the LG? Because even the domain of areas over which you have aid and advice, that is aid and advice over the domain over which you have executive powers. And which are those executive powers? It's defined to us in 239 AA 3A, right? 1, 2, 18, 64, 65, 66, that part. Yeah. My question is, by introducing a proviso called difference of opinion, does it reduce the words aid and advice, which is used in the main provision, which is 239 AA4, and make it only one of a possible opinion, and the LG therefore has the right to hold the contrary opinion? Ultimately, my question is, by virtue of the proviso, does it mean that there is no aid and advice which is binding on the LG at all? What did the 5-judge bench say about this point that I'm now raising?
Ma'am, the 5-judge bench said that it should be construed in harmoniously with the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers, and the interest of the place should be kept in consideration, and if there is no such threat to the interest of the national capital, then the aid of
No.
aid and advice.
Going into specifics, Abhishek, listen carefully to what I'm saying. The aid and advice of an executive government to the head of state or to the head of government or to the head of the union territory, with LG in this particular case, is a feature of parliamentary democracy. It is a feature where the executive maintains control and guides the constitutional head, which in this particular case is the LG, right? If that is kept in the background, why does the 5-judge bench say, if we were to give the broadest understanding to difference of opinion, then the value of the Legislative Assembly and the value of this Delhi Council of Ministers will be reduced to nothing. There will be no parliamentary democracy. This is just one advice that they get, but LG is free to have his own advice. If you keep parliamentary democracy as a basic feature of our constitution, and if you keep in mind, as Dr. Chandrachud said, that the 69th Amendment was an exercise of constituent power, then that exercise of constituent power must be read along with the power of parliamentary democracy. And if parliamentary democracy is to be a main feature, then over those areas over which the executive power of the government of NCT Delhi extends, then he is bound by the aid and advice. Otherwise, you can just whittle away the area of aid and advice completely. Did the judgment say what I'm now saying?
Yes, ma'am. The judgment said that substantial issues of finance and policy which impact upon the status of the national capital or implicate vital interest of the union shall be sent only. Otherwise, it should be not every trivial matter of difference should fall under the proviso. So it
Not all. So you must give a narrow reading to the proviso. Otherwise, the constitutional scheme of parliamentary democracy would collapse, as well as the scheme which is laid out in Shamsher Singh, that over those areas over which you have executive power, you are giving aid and advice to the head of the state. However, there's another counter view to this. Listen to this counter view. A union territory is always only directly administered by the president through a administrator. In this case, they have given an additional legislative assembly. When there is a legislative assembly, then this must... Justice Chandrachud makes the point that if you do not give sufficient space to the aid and advice area over which the Delhi Chief Council of Ministers gives advice, it can well be reduced to, as he calls it, a cipher. Because on everything, the LG can have his independent opinion, and he says, "मैं agree नहीं करता आपके साथ, बस I'm going to send it off to the president," which means that if you gave the widest interpretation to the proviso, that aid and advice can keep coming from the Delhi Council of Ministers, but LG can say, I take a different view and I can defer it to the president, and the decision of the president is nothing other than the decision of the Union Council of Ministers. Therefore, Justice Chandrachud, particularly in his concurring judgment, talks about constitutional morality. And he says, for example, that the constitution should be interpreted in a manner not to reduce the role of the Council of Ministers and their capacity to give aid and advice to a cipher or a naught or to a zero. If such was given, then it would destroy the constitutional scheme. And we remember that 239 was inserted by a constitutional amendment, which means that it's not just a parliamentary act, it's an exercise of constituent power. Therefore, we must preserve the substance of the constitution, which is a cabinet form of government, which is that there shall be a council of ministers, maybe not to advise over the entire state and concurrent list like it would have been had it been a state, but even in that limited form, you must interpret it so as to keep some residue of aid and advice. So the difference of opinion has to be interpreted to mean that there is left over some area for the Delhi government to aid and advise the LG. Number two, the point that Abhishek made, very correct point, that even if there is difference of opinion, as a condition precedent to the LG referring it to the president. And this is a new limitation which has been brought in by that judgment. As a condition precedent. What do I mean by a condition precedent? Tomorrow, if a reference is made by the LG to the president without fulfilling this condition precedent, then that reference would be vitiated according to the interpretation now given to us by the Constitution bench. And what is the condition precedent? You will make all attempts to resolve the difference. And it is, as the court puts it, only after dialogue and discussion and taking all attempts to resolve the differences will your reference to the president be constitutionally valid. So it cannot be that the LG gets a file and he writes on the file, I disagree. This matter may be referred to the president under the powers conferred on me under the proviso to 239 AA4. That would be now bad after this constitutional bench decision. The constitutional scheme requires that there should be cooperative federalism and there must be a dialoguing and an attempt, and therefore regular meetings between LG and the chief minister. Right. Then come back now to the judgment of Justice Deepak Mishra. He, in addition, points to what Abhishek was pointing out to us, that under the 1991 Act as well as the Transaction of Business Rules 1993, LG has to be kept informed. That is a key takeaway from the Justice Deepak Mishra judgment. So you must be kept informed. Why must you be kept informed? Because the proviso gives the LG that additional power which a governor of a state did not have. That if there is a difference of opinion over any matter, he can refer it to the president. And you can have a difference of opinion only if you are kept informed. Okay. It doesn't mean that the LG must concur and say yes to everything that the state is doing, but the government has to keep the LG informed. This is something which is expressly mentioned by Justice Deepak Mishra as a duty cast now upon the government. Now, is it new or not, I ask? And if you look at our own constitution and you come to Article 78 of our Constitution. When you look at Article 78, what are the duties of the Prime Minister? It shall be the duty of the Prime Minister to communicate to the President all decisions of the Council of Ministers leading to the administration and affairs of the Union. Why is this necessary? I go back to the exception that Justice Krishna had told us in the Shamsher Singh judgment. It is the duty of the President to defend the Constitution. Therefore, the President has to know what the Cabinet is deciding. And if he is of the opinion that these are unconstitutional matters, that there is likely to be a destruction of the Constitution, then as we know from that judgment of Justice Krishna, President has the discretionary power contrary against the aid and advice of the government to in fact dissolve and dismiss the government and call for fresh elections. But information is power, as they say, and you must know. So there is an express duty cast under Article 78, as I told you. There's an equivalent provision for the governor also. And likewise, this duty to be kept informed is also mentioned by Justice Deepak Mishra in his judgment. Manu, what? On the hindsight of comparing that of whether we can really say that the aid is virtually a direction to be mandatory without any says in the government authorized in the same matter. Only the thing is that, Manu, that I see the lack of symmetry because something equivalent to Article 74 and the proviso, which was introduced by the 42nd Amendment, is not there. There's no similar thing that I see in 160.
Does that proviso create a limitation, or does that rather provide more of autonomy, extra autonomy? That is the question.
Extra autonomy, that's true. But from where will we get the power of the governor to refer back a normal matter to the state government for consideration? After all, it's a constitutional authority. Okay? Where? From some inherent sovereign power that he has? Where will you locate it?
I'm under the garb of safeguarding the basic structure of the Constitution. If something is, going in violation of the scheme of the Constitution, and the Council of Ministers have made a decision, so the governor just simply overrules that, saying that, no, I feel that I exercise my discretion under Clause 2, and it is not to be questioned.
But under Clause 2, if you look at 163, if any question arises whether any matter is or is not respected, he is under the Constitution required to act in his discretion. Under the Constitution, which means I must be able to point to an express provision where the governor acts in his discretion, which are enumerated in Shamsher Singh. Then you have to say that there are still some areas where he acts in his discretion. For example, Madhya Pradesh Police Special Establishment giving permission contrary to the aid and advice. I can see the point you're making. I'm just trying to push you how you will develop your argument. So your answer in light of Madhya Pradesh Special Police Establishment, would you like to rephrase your justification? I'm not saying yours wrong. I'm saying, where will I locate that power to go against that aid and advice? Where will I locate that power?
No, it needs to be refined, ma'am. You're right.
Yeah. So how will you refine it? No, go ahead and tell me that refinement.
Ma'am, then I'll come back to it.
Pardon?
Let me go through Madhya Pradesh once again, ma'am, then I'll come back.
Yeah, but if you look at Madhya Pradesh, so you should look at that because one, your argument, I'm just suggesting to you how you would refine your argument, Manu. That is, one, in Shamsher Singh, the court has said without being dogmatic or exhaustive, which means it's an open-ended category, right? We can use constitutional conventions to read into the Constitution. That has to be a starting premise because every power is not necessarily written in black and white. We've already seen it in Berubari. Power to cede territory is inherent, right? Fine. Then you come to the point that even contrary to an advice of the Madhya Pradesh cabinet that do not give green signal to prosecute this minister, the governor looked at the papers and decided to go contrary to the advice. And that was upheld by the Supreme Court, which means even in the absence of a proviso similar to the proviso in Article 74, which is explicitly a power given to the president to go contrary to the aid and advice of the Union Cabinet of Ministers, the Supreme Court has recognized an implicit convention, and your example will be the Madhya Pradesh Special Police Establishment. Therefore, even where there is a bound to be an aid and advice, he can go contrary. And if that is the case, and you translate that now to our, I should stop, I just realized it's 1:32, that we must therefore then stop. Even the difference of opinion of the LG is not very different from the position of the president vis-a-vis Union Cabinet and the position of the governor. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm saying that there is a symmetry that I see amongst these three. That is, if I follow this line of argument, that there is an implied and inherent right to go against the aid and advice and act to his discretion because those categories where you act in your discretion is not a closed category, it's open-ended, and it can keep adding to it, like the Madhya Pradesh case did. Rupanshu, in answer to your question, I said that those LG exercises his discretion. Okay, that is available, as Abhishek correctly pointed out to us, in Justice Chandrachud's judgment, but it's also there in Justice Deepak Mishra's, by the way. It comes from section 41, or is it 44?
41, ma'am.
41 of the GNCTD Act of 1991. And those two areas, since you are asking, Abhishek, do you want to quickly mention those two areas?
Yes, ma'am. The first one is...
Panshu is asking, quickly, we're running out of time.
Yes, the first one is the powers that are conferred upon the Legislative Assembly, but in which respect President has delegated powers and functions to the LG. And the second category is of the quasi-judicial and judicial functions of the LG, that he is required to act in his discretion.
This is discretion, right. So in these areas, yeah, so fine. Now, look, it's beyond time. I'm sorry, I should stop here. So thank you.
नमस्कार, आदाब, सत श्री अकाल दोस्तों। स्वागत है आपका एक बार फिर से हमारे YouTube चैनल ब्रास फ्यूजन्स पर, जहां आज हम आपके लिए लेकर आए हैं एक नया लेसन।